My granddaughter didn't want to introduce me to her fiancé. She said I shouldn't go to the wedding. She'd forgotten who paid for the $199,000 wedding. I showed up unannounced and saw what she was hiding. When I saw his face, my heart nearly stopped. My name is Margaret Cole. I am 68, a widow, and I do not scare easy. I worked 37 years running a small bakery, raised one son, and then helped raise his daughter when life threw them both into my arms. I wore a silver locket my husband gave me the year our son was born. I kept a lemon yellow notebook in my purse because lists made the chaos quiet. I had paid for that wedding with money I saved by saying no to every silly thing for decades. I told myself love was an investment. Then my granddaughter told me to stay away, and I felt like a lender who never signed the paperwork. I tried not to think in those terms. I tried to think like a grandmother who trusted her girl. But I had learned, late and hard, that trust needs light. The venue smelled like cold flowers and floor polish. I walked in slow, holding my locket between two fingers like it could steady my heart. The main hall was white and tall and loud with a sound check. Someone's laughter echoed under the chandeliers. I kept to the edge near a table with place cards lined up like little soldiers. My lemon notebook pressed against my palm inside my purse. I had come to see why I was not welcome. I spotted my granddaughter near the bar, fussing with a florist ribbon. She looked small in all that shine. Her dress was a pale blue for rehearsal night, no veil yet. She glanced my way, then past me, then away. It stung. I told myself to breathe. I told myself she was nervous. Then I saw him. He stood near the manager. He turned toward the light. His smile was neat. His jaw was neat. His fingers touched his cuff like he was checking a watch that was not there. I knew that face. 2 years earlier, he sat in my living room with a clipboard and a kind voice. He called himself a care manager. He tried to get me to sign papers. He told me not to worry. He used my first name in a soft tone again and again. I did not sign. I asked for time. He stopped calling. Now he was here, wearing a new name, almost a husband to my granddaughter. He looked across the room. He did not blink. He did not show a thing. He swept the space like a man in charge. His eyes slid past me the way people look at staff. I pressed the locket hard. I told myself, hold steady. A woman in a black blazer asked if she could help me find my seat. I said, I am family. My voice sounded even. The manager glanced over and gave me a polite, puzzled smile. I watched the man touch his cuff again. I shifted my bag to my other shoulder, and the lemon yellow notebook slipped from its pocket and dropped to the polished floor. He turned at the small sound. He looked right at me, the smile still gentle, still unknown. I understood that he did not recognize me, yet. The hallway outside the bridal room was soft and warm, like a quiet hotel. The carpet was thick. The air smelled like hairspray and new perfume. I stood in the doorway and watched my granddaughter fix a curl in the mirror. For a second, I saw the child who used to climb onto my lap with cookie dough on her fingers. Then she saw me, and the light in her face went flat. I held the invitation in both hands. Her name was raised in gold. It pressed into my skin. I did not wave it like a flag. I just let her see it and let her see my face. There are times when a grandmother's eyes say more than a speech. She opened her mouth. I could feel the don't coming, like a door slowly closing. I thought about the way girls are taught to keep the room calm, even when the floor tilts. I thought about how men praise sweetness because it costs them nothing. I lowered my voice. Say it plain, I said. Only that. She looked at the invitation, then at the floor. Her hands were steady, but her eyes were not. The hairdryer hummed behind the door. Someone laughed. It all felt far away. Go home, she said. The two words hit harder than a paragraph. She did not say please. She did not have to. I could hear the plea under the order. Peace at any price. Later, we will talk. Later, when papers and vows make talking useless. I stood there and let the hurt settle. I thought about money and how it buys the big things, but never buys your place at a small table. I thought about the man with the clipboard and how he used a soft voice to push a hard plan. I thought about the way good girls are trained to believe that respectful questions are attacks. I won't ruin your night, I said. My voice was even. I meant it. But I would not fold myself into a lie to keep the room smooth. She touched the thin chain at her throat. It was the necklace I had given her at 14. She held it the same way I held my locket. I saw the child again, under the makeup and the worry. She backed into the room like a person easing a lid onto a boiling pot. The door moved. Her eyes asked me not to make this into a scene. I nodded once. I could be steady now and still be strong tomorrow. That is a thing age teaches if you live long enough. She slipped inside. The latch clicked. Music from the main hall swelled and washed down the hall. The smell of hairspray floated over the carpet. I stood alone with the invitation heavy in my hand, and a thin draft touched my arms. Behind me, at the corner, a shadow shifted, listening, and the line of light along the door seam went still. I needed air that did not smell like roses and nerves. I went out the service door to the back lot. The sky was turning violet. The grass smelled sweet and wet. I sat on a painted bench and unlocked my phone. The glow lit my fingers. I opened the bank app. The wire sat there in clean numbers. I felt each digit like a tooth under my tongue. I remembered the add-ons, the quartet, the extra dessert table, the live painter. I had said yes to all of it because I wanted her to start happy. I told myself I had not bought a seat. I had given a start. People lie to themselves for love. I'm not special. The phone felt warm. I lifted my locket and let it rest on the back of my hand. Cool metal, steady. I took a photo of the wire on the screen with the locket beside it. I like to put facts next to feelings. It calms me. My lemon notebook peeked from my purse. I slid it out. I wrote one line. He is the man with the clipboard. I drew a box around the words. I underlined once. I do not like drama, but I wanted this clear. I listened to the loading door swing and slam as trays moved in and out. Voices rose and fell. A man came around the corner. He was young and broad. He smiled too wide. He smelled like mint and liquor. "Ma'am," he said, "we can't have guests back here." "I am family," I said. "Of course," he said. His eyes went to my notebook, then to my phone. "You might be more comfortable inside." "Tell Daniel." I paused. The name felt wrong. He had another once. "Or is it David?" I said. "Tell him Margaret is here." His smile slipped. "I don't think—" "Please," I said. My voice stayed even. He glanced back toward the door, then toward me. Someone shouted his name. He pointed at my notebook. "You do not need that," he said, softer now. "Let us keep tonight smooth." "No trouble," I said. I folded the notebook shut and laid my hand over it. "Just a hello." He took a step back, then another. His smile came on again, late and thin. He aimed it at the middle distance and tried to make me disappear. He half turned, ready to flee back through the service door, and his eyes flicked down to the lemon cover one last time, then up to my face. A gust moved the eucalyptus in the planters. Somewhere inside, a microphone squealed, then went dead. He opened his mouth to call someone over. He stood with the service door at his back like a shield. His suit was dark blue with a narrow black tie, the kind young men think makes them look older. A small brushed pin on his lapel read, "Best Man" in neat script. Under it, a rehearsal name tag, Tyler. He had a radio clipped inside his jacket and a thin earpiece curled behind his ear. Not staff. Closer. A gatekeeper for the groom, a fixer if something got messy. Tyler tried the smile again. He spread one hand, polite. He wanted me to move without touching me. I knew that trick. I have moved flour by the sack and grieved a husband and raised a child. A 20-something in shiny shoes was not going to slide me off my own ground. "And you are?" he asked, like we had not done this. "Margaret," I said, "the grandmother who paid for the flowers you'll toss tomorrow." I nodded at the green buckets by the wall. The water inside them smelled clean and bitter. He flicked a look at the buckets, then back at my purse. "He's tied up," he said. "You can call tomorrow." Tomorrow meant after vows, after he locked my granddaughter to his new name. I felt anger rise and settle into something steady. It did not shake my hands. It made my voice clear. "What is his name tonight?" I asked. "Only that." Tyler's eyes tightened. His earpiece clicked, a small private sound. He shifted his weight like a boxer checking distance. "David," he said, slow, testing me. Then he waited, as if I might explode. I did not. I touched my locket. I pictured my granddaughter's fingers on her thin chain, the same nervous habit. I thought about what David, no, the man with the clipboard, had told her to make me the problem. It is easy to turn a careful woman into a villain. You only have to say she stirs things. Tell David that Margaret is here, I said. Tell him I brought a few memories. Tyler's smile thinned. His eyes dropped to my purse again, then to the lemon yellow notebook where the corner showed. He was measuring risk. I could see it. Not a fool, someone used to running interference. He adjusted the earpiece with one finger, then tapped his radio twice like a habit. "What's in the notebook?" he asked. "Memories," I said. He did not like that answer. He liked boxes with lids and labels. He took a half step closer, then stopped. He did not want to crowd me and make a scene, but he wanted the door behind him safe. A fixer, through and through. He would keep David clean if he could. "Look," he said, softer now. The mint on his breath had a hard edge. "He's got a lot on his mind. Best to let tonight be. Tomorrow we can—" "No," I said. Just the one word. I kept my palm on the notebook. The paint on the bench had a nick. It scratched my skin and kept me awake inside my body. I held his eyes. "Now." Something in my tone tilted the ground. He blinked. The earpiece clicked again, a thin insect sound. He glanced toward the door like it might tell him what to do. He was the best man, but he was also a boy sent to block a hallway with a smile. I had been blocked by better. He cracked the service door with his shoulder and spoke low into the radio. The noise from the ballroom swelled and ran over us. Music, clink, laughter, and then the door shut and the sounds fell away. I waited. I could smell eucalyptus and the last trace of diesel, fading. My phone buzzed once in my pocket and went quiet. I did not look. I kept my hand on the notebook and watched Tyler's face. He slipped back out a minute later. The smile was still there, but strain showed at the edges. He kept his shoulder on the door as if it needed his weight. "He's tied up, Margaret," he said, chewing my name to make it smaller. I needed to unveil this mystery. My revenge time was close. They wouldn't see it coming, how one old name could stop a wedding. You won't believe what is about to happen. But before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. I drove home slow. The sky was dark and soft. My hands smelled faintly of the eucalyptus I'd brushed leaving the venue. Inside my house, the air was still. I kicked off my shoes and turned on one lamp. The kitchen smelled like lemon soap and old coffee. My purse sat on the table, heavy with my locket, my phone, and the lemon yellow notebook. I opened the drawer near the stove. That's where I keep things I want to remember: birth certificates, bills, letters. I pulled out a folder marked Home Care 2023. The paper inside was dry and curling at the edges. I laid it flat. There it was. The old invoice from the company the man had claimed to work for 2 years ago. The name printed at the bottom, Daniel Holt. My heart slowed. Daniel, not David. He had come to my house once in that same suit, smiling, saying my son asked him to help with future care. He spoke soft. I had been polite but firm. I didn't sign a thing. When I told my bank, they warned me to stay careful. A month later, that company disappeared from the state registry. Now he was a groom, and she was in love with him. I stared at the paper until the lamp hummed louder than my thoughts. I touched the edge of my locket and thought of my granddaughter's necklace, how she held it when she lied to me. I didn't want to believe she knew anything. I needed to believe that. I copied the invoice and slid it into my lemon notebook. The printer warmed the room with a small hum. I wrote one more line under my old note. Same man. New name. I sat back and whispered to myself, not this time. Then the phone buzzed on the table. A new text from an unknown number flashed on the screen. One line, "Don't come back." I stared at it until it went dark. The morning light came thin and white through my curtains. I made coffee and sat by the window. The smell steadied me. I opened my lemon notebook and looked at the copied invoice. I needed proof, not for the police, for her. I typed the name Daniel Holt into the state complaint board. The first result opened with a photo. It was him. My chest tightened. Under the picture, the words read, "Pending investigation for financial misconduct." I printed the page. The paper was warm. I taped the photo beside the invoice in the notebook. The two names, Daniel Holt and David Clark, sat there like twin lies. The house was quiet, but my thoughts were loud. I remembered the kindness in his fake smile, how he always looked people dead in the eye. I thought of how he'd touched my shoulder that day years ago and said, "Trust me, Margaret." He had no right to say my name like that. I ran my hand over the lemon cover of my notebook. My heart felt steady for the first time that morning. I took a photo of the two pages and sent it to my email, just in case. Then I texted my granddaughter. My hands shook a little. "Do you know his other name?" I waited. She wrote back fast. One word. "Stop." Just that. No explanation, no question. It felt like a door slamming again. I typed one more message, then "Meet me tomorrow, or I go to the police right now." I stared at the screen until the three dots appeared, then vanished. The room felt colder. I closed the notebook and pressed my palm on it like a promise. We met the next day at a small diner halfway between our homes. The place smelled like bacon grease and lemon cleaner. I sat by the window with my notebook beside the coffee cup. She came in wearing dark glasses, her hair pulled back tight. "Grandma," she said, and sat before I could stand. "Thank you for coming," I said. She looked around like the walls might have ears. "What are you doing?" "I'm protecting you," I said. "Look." I opened the notebook to the copied invoice and the photo. The sound of the paper sliding seemed louder than the hum of the coffee machine. She leaned closer, then pulled back. "That's not him," she said too quickly. "He changed his name?" I said. "The old one was Daniel Holt. I met him before. He wanted my house." Her hands curled around her coffee cup. "You're mistaken." "No," I said. "He is the same man. I remember his voice." She shook her head. "He told me you were confused back then." The words hit me like a small slap. I looked at her. "He told you that?" She nodded once, not meeting my eyes. For a moment, I wanted to reach across the table and hold her hand, but I didn't. "He's lying," I said softly. "And you know it, somewhere deep down. That's why you didn't want me there." She blinked fast. A tear slid down her cheek and fell into the coffee. She wiped it away, angry. "You always think people are out to get you," she said. "You don't trust anyone." "I trust the truth," I said. "That's all I ever trusted." She stood up fast, her chair scraping the floor. "You're ruining this," she said. Her voice cracked. "I'm marrying him tomorrow, and I'm happy." "Just stop." People at nearby tables looked our way. I stayed seated. I reached into my purse and laid one small photograph on the table. Him, under his old name, smiling the same exact smile. "Look again," I said quietly. "Then tell me I'm wrong." She froze. Her mouth opened. Then her phone buzzed, and she looked at the screen, her face drained of color. "He's outside," she said, almost whispering. I didn't turn to look. I only said, "Then invite him in." "I'm not here to fight, honey. I just need a moment. Let me go freshen up." I understood the full picture. My granddaughter was already a hostage, not with chains, but with shame. The kind of cage that's built out of love and fear and a man's soft voice telling you what's best. She sat across from me in that diner booth, her hands tight around a cup of coffee gone cold. Her eyes were red, like she hadn't slept. The restroom smelled like bleach and cheap lemon soap. I locked the door, pulled my phone out, and hit the number I'd saved last night under Fraud Department. The woman answered, quick. "This is Marianne, Bank Fraud Division." "It's Margaret Cole," I said. My voice was low but clear. "You remember me?" "Yes, ma'am." "Of course. How can I help?" "I found him," I said. "The one who tried to move on my account 2 years ago. His name's different now, but it's the same man. He's marrying my granddaughter Silence." Then her tone changed. Do you feel you're in danger right now? I think she is, I said. He's close by. He's been watching her. He's not going to let me walk out of here easy. She didn't waste time. Stay calm. Where are you? Pineview Diner, I said, on County Road 7. I'm calling the sheriff's office now. Stay where you are. Do not confront him. I ended the call, washed my hands so they wouldn't shake, and looked in the mirror. The woman staring back looked older than I remembered, but her eyes were the same, steady. I straightened my sweater, slipped the lemon notebook under my arm, and walked out. My granddaughter was still at the table, her phone on the booth beside her. She looked up fast, startled. Are you okay? She asked. I will be, I said. I sat down again, heart thudding slow and heavy. The diner door chimed behind me. He walked in, tall, smiling, his tie too neat for mourning. He carried the air of a man who thought the world owed him an audience. My granddaughter froze. I watched his hand settle lightly on her shoulder. Too light, too practiced. Margaret, he said, smooth as cream. You didn't have to involve her in this. I met his eyes. I didn't. You did. He opened his mouth to speak, but then the sound of tires on gravel cut him off. 2 police cars slid into the parking lot, lights flashing, but sirens quiet. The color from his face drained slow and sure. My granddaughter turned toward the window confused. I laid my hand on hers and kept my voice calm. It's all right, honey, I said. This time I called before it was too late. The officers came in quiet, no hands on weapons, no raised voices, just the heavy belts and the calm faces men wear when they need everyone to settle. The diner smelled like bacon and rain. My granddaughter's fingers were cold under my palm. Daniel, stood a step back from the booth, his tie neat, his smile bent into concern. Ma'am, the older officer said to me. You placed the call? Yes, I said. I'm Margaret Cole. He looked at my granddaughter. Are you safe with these folks? She nodded too fast. I'm fine. David's voice came soft. Officers, there's been a misunderstanding. Her memory isn't... I felt that word coming and cut it. My memory is fine, I said. I opened the lemon yellow notebook. The paper made a small sound in the noisy room. I slid out the copied invoice and the photo and laid them by my coffee cup. This is the man who came to my house 2 years ago under a different name. He tried to get me to sign papers about my home. Now he's here for a marriage scam. The younger officer leaned in. He glanced at the pages, then at David. Sir, David kept the smile. I don't know that woman in that photo. Someone is using my face. Deepfakes are everywhere. You know how the internet is? The older officer raised a hand. Slow down. We can take statements, but we're not here to decide identity. If nobody is in immediate danger, this sounds like a civil issue for now. Immediate danger? I said. I kept my voice even. He is trying to take her life one piece at a time. We can't arrest a groom for that, the older one said gently. Not without cause today. My granddaughter's eyes kept moving between us. She looked like a girl taught to hold the room together with her own body. David moved a half step closer, close enough to lay his hand on the back of her chair. He did not. He let the idea of it sit there. Officers, he said, we'll leave so this doesn't disturb business. The younger one looked at him. We'd like everyone identified. David gave a smooth laugh and produced a wallet. David Clark, address on Laurel Ridge. The card was new and stiff. I watched the lamination catch the light. Names are cheap. Behavior isn't. Ask him about Daniel Holt, I said, to no one in particular. The older officer wrote the names down. Ms. Cole, if you have documents, bring them to the station later today. For now, keep distance. David nodded like a man complimented. Absolutely. We want peace. He turned to my granddaughter. Let's get you home, baby. She looked at me. Her necklace caught the window light and flashed. I saw the child who used to run through my kitchen with a spoon in her hand. I saw the woman who wanted a simple yes to last. Come with me, he murmured. It was almost nothing, but I heard the pressure under it. "I'll come," she said, barely louder than the rain ticking on the glass. I held the notebook hard enough to crease the cover. The officers waited for us to move. The diner's bell jingled when the door opened. The smell of wet pavement lifted in. I stood up. "I'm not done," I said to myself, to them, to the locket warm against my skin. As they stepped out, my phone buzzed in my pocket. Marianne's name showed bright. I answered and pressed it to my ear. "We found 3 complaints under his old name," she said, voice low. "You were right." I watched my granddaughter walk toward his car without a coat. The light rain dotted her hair. "Stay on the line, Messie Noise," I said. "I'm going to stop this masquerade before it's too late." Rain tapped the diner's awning like a soft drum. My granddaughter walked toward his car without a coat, hair catching drops. He kept close, angling his body to block my path without touching me. Tyler leaned on a black sedan with the engine running, earpiece tucked, eyes on me. My phone was still to my ear. Marianne's voice was steady. 3 prior complaints, same photo, civil judgment last year, she said. Do not engage in a fight. Get her to a neutral desk. I'm trying, I said. My breath made a fog in the cool air. My locket felt warm against my throat. The lemon-yellow notebook was under my arm, dry under my sweater. I stepped in front of my granddaughter's door and kept my voice calm. Give me 30 minutes, I said, at the county clerk's office. If I'm wrong, I'll leave your wedding alone. He smiled, polite and poisonous. She's done talking. I tapped the phone to wake the screen. You can say that to the clerk, I said, or you can say it to Marianne from the fraud office. She's on the line. He paused. Not long, just enough. My granddaughter's hands were shaking as she reached for the handle. I could see the small smear of mascara at the corner of her eye. I wanted to wipe it away and hated that I wanted to. She was not a child. She was a woman stuck between 2 stories. I put the phone on speaker. Marianne, I said, tell her what you told me. Ma'am, Marianne said, professional, warm. We've received multiple complaints tied to the name Daniel Holt with a matching photograph. I can't advise you on marriage, but I can advise caution. If you feel pressured, seek a neutral review before signing anything that binds finances or legal status. He cut in fast. Anyone can say anything on the phone. Then come hear it from a clerk, I said. 30 minutes. Tyler pushed off the sedan, voice soft. There's no need for a scene at a government office. I looked at my granddaughter. Honey, I said, if I'm wrong, I'll say it there, and I'll leave you in peace. The rain found the edge of her sweater and darkened it. She glanced at him, then at me. Her necklace flashed as she swallowed. Her free hand, her own hand, reached out and took the lemon notebook from under my arm. She held it like a life preserver. 30 minutes, she said. Then we go. His jaw ticked. We take separate cars, he said to Tyler, and we don't waste time. We did. I drove with my granddaughter beside me. The wipers kept a steady pace. She held the notebook on her lap and stared at the neat letters, at the taped photo, at the copied invoice. Behind us, a pair of headlights stayed 2 car lengths back. Marianne stayed on the line, quiet now, until I parked in the county lot and said, We're here, she answered. I'll be on standby. I slipped the phone into my purse, felt for my locket, and walked my girl into the bright, humming building where light could land on names. We did not look back as his car eased in behind us. The county building was bright and cold, the kind of light that made no shadows. My granddaughter walked beside me, small and pale, clutching the lemon-yellow notebook to her chest. The papers inside, his old invoice, his photo, the hold notice, all felt heavier than they should. He followed close behind, his shoes too loud on the tile. His voice came calm, like a hand smoothing the air. We shouldn't be here, he said. I didn't answer. I had learned that silence can press harder than words. At the reception desk, Marianne stood waiting. She looked different from the voice on the phone, shorter, sharper eyes, steady hands. She gave me a small nod, the kind that said we were already on the same side. I came in person, she said quietly. There's enough to hold him. He laughed once, short. Hold? For what? A mix-up? Marianne didn't blink. For truth, she said. I could see my granddaughter shaking her head. Not from disbelief, but from fear. I wanted to take her hand, but I didn't. This had to come from her, not me. The clerk behind the glass handed Marianne a printed sheet. She read it, then looked straight at him. There are verified fraud claims under the name Daniel Holt. Matching face, matching birth year, the license is frozen until cleared. He smiled like a man trying not to bare his teeth. So, we wait, and then it disappears. Marianne folded the paper and turned to me. This stops the wedding from being legal, she said, low enough for only us. He can walk, but he can't tie her name to his. I nodded once. My granddaughter's breath came shallow and fast. I saw her necklace twist in her fingers. She stared at the floor. He leaned close to her ear, whispering something I couldn't hear. Her shoulders pulled in like she was shrinking under it. I felt my throat close. That was the moment I knew she wasn't standing between us anymore. She was caught in his gravity. I spoke softly, not to him, not even to her. When you forget who you are, he wins. Her head lifted just a little. The gold chain trembled in her fingers. He started to say something again, but the look she gave him stopped him mid-breath. The silence felt clean. She walked to the counter, picked up the hold notice, and pressed it flat with her palm. We're done here, she said. Her voice didn't shake this time. He stared at her, the smile gone, his jaw tight as stone. Then he turned on his heel and walked out. The sound of the glass door closing was sharp and final. The parking lot smelled like wet asphalt and hot metal. Rain had stopped, but the air still carried the taste of it. He stood by his car, speaking into his phone, one hand gripping the roof hard enough to leave a mark. Tyler lingered nearby, head down, pretending to text. My granddaughter stood still beside me, her hair dark from the drizzle. She looked at him like she was seeing something far away at last, like a shape she'd mistaken for safety. Do you think he'll come after me? She asked. Not if you stop answering, I said. He can't chase what doesn't turn around. She nodded, but tears came anyway. I let her cry. The rain hit it well enough. Across the lot, he slammed his car door and started the engine. For a second, our eyes met through the windshield. He smiled, small, flat, finished. Then he drove off. The sound of tires faded, and with it, something uncoiled in my chest. My granddaughter exhaled, shaking. I married a ghost, she whispered. No, I said, touching her shoulder. You almost married a thief. She turned to me, her face streaked but calm now. I don't know what to do next. Start over, I said. And this time, you don't let anyone tell you light is noise. The lemon notebook felt warm under my arm. My locket pressed soft against my collarbone. I thought about the years I had spent keeping quiet to keep peace. Not anymore. She took my hand. It was small, cold, but sure. Together we walked toward my car. The clouds were lifting a little. A thin, pale sun pushed through. The day was lighter than it had been in a long time. The drive home was quiet, except for the wipers and the hum of the engine. The rain had stopped, but water still clung to the trees, sliding down in slow lines. My granddaughter sat beside me, her hands folded around the lemon notebook like it was something holy. Neither of us spoke for a long while. The world outside looked washed clean, but inside the car, the air was thick with all that had broken loose. When I turned into my driveway, the porch light blinked on. I hadn't realized it was already dark. The smell of wet earth and lilac hit me as I opened the door. My old house felt smaller than I remembered, but warmer too. Sit, I said softly. She lowered herself onto the couch, shoulders slumped. Her eyes looked raw but clear. The kind of clear that only comes after truth. I went to the kitchen, filled the kettle, and called the sheriff's line. My hands didn't shake this time. The same older officer who'd met us at the diner answered. It's Margaret Cole again, I said. You might want to look into the name Daniel Holt. There's proof he's been at this before. He sighed, the tired sound of a man who'd seen too much. "We've already got a file started, ma'am. Your call earlier helped push it along. Bank records are on the way." "Good," I said. "He'll run if you let him." "We won't," he said. "You did the right thing." When I hung up, I stood still a moment, listening to the kettle hum. The house smelled faintly of lemon soap and rain. My granddaughter had curled into herself on the couch, the notebook open on her knees. "I should have believed you," she said quietly. "I thought he loved me." "You wanted to be loved," I said. "That's not the same thing." She nodded, eyes shining. "I thought you were trying to control me. All you were trying to do was save me." I brought her a mug of tea. "Love doesn't need to prove itself loud," I said. "It just needs to stay." She sipped, her hands trembling around the cup. "What happens now?" "Now," I said, sitting beside her, "we let truth do its work." The kettle clicked off behind me. I reached for her hand. It was cold, but she didn't pull away. We sat like that for a long while, the two of us breathing in the quiet. The lemon notebook lay open between us, the hold notice showing like a small yellow flag. I felt something deep inside me loosen. A knot I'd carried for years. When I finally spoke again, my voice was steady. "You'll sleep here tonight." She nodded. "Thank you." Outside, the streetlight flickered, and I thought of all the nights I'd worried about her, wondering if she'd ever see through his shine. She had now. That was enough. The next week moved slow, but it moved. 2 days after that night, the police found Daniel at a motel near the state line. He didn't resist. Not really. He just looked tired, like a man who had finally run out of names to hide behind. The local paper wrote a small piece about it. Financial consultant arrested on fraud allegations. They didn't mention the wedding or the grandmother who called it in. They never do. I watched the news on my old TV, the lemon notebook on my lap. When his photo came up, I touched the edge of my locket. "You picked the wrong family," I whispered. The court hearing was quiet and plain. My granddaughter sat beside me, her hands still but strong. The judge read the charges. The clerk stamped the papers. His lawyer said something about misunderstanding, about identity theft. But the evidence was clean, the signatures his. When it was over, the marriage license was declared void, nullified due to fraudulent representation. Simple words for something that had almost destroyed her. He looked at me once as they let him out. Not angry, not pleading, just empty. The kind of empty that comes when lies run dry. Outside the courthouse, my granddaughter turned her face up to the light. "It's done," she said. "It is," I said. "And now we get to live." She smiled then, small, real, fragile as spring. But it was the first smile that belonged to her again. The days after felt long and gentle. I went back to my garden. The tulips had pushed through the soil, red and bright. The air smelled of new grass and coffee in the mornings. My granddaughter helped me wash the porch, hang new curtains, bake bread. Small things, but they mattered. She laughed again. Not often, but real. Each sound felt like sunlight finding a corner of the house that hadn't seen it in years. Sometimes I caught her reading through the lemon notebook, tracing the lines I'd written. She asked if she could keep it when the case was over. I told her yes. Truth belongs to the ones who live through it. One evening, as the sun fell low, we sat outside. The sky was streaked pink and gold. I held my locket in my palm, and she held the thin chain I'd once given her. She leaned against my shoulder, and I could feel her breathing, slow, even, safe. For the first time in a long while, I believed in quiet days again. The phone rang inside. I didn't rush to answer it. Whoever it was could wait. I looked out at the yard, the flowers, the slow dusk settling in. "We'll be fine," I said to no one in particular. "We finally learned what peace costs and how to keep it." When I closed my eyes, the smell of lilac and fresh bread filled the air. My heart felt light. The storm had passed, and we were still standing. Would you watch someone you love walk toward a mistake you could see but they couldn't? Would you stay silent to keep the peace? Or would you risk losing them just to save them? Give me your thoughts on this question in the comment section.
My grandma told me this story. I have many more stories. Subscribe so you don't miss the most interesting things.